Lovers of freedom, I salute you all. Congratulations to all Biafrans all over the world. A lot of questions have been flowing from everywhere. But the one thing that this whole question is all put together from the left, right, and center, from all those people, either the haters and those also of them who are in the middle. Some also who believe in the cause of Biafra, but not exactly from the part of Simon Ekpa and his followers' point of view. The question is, after the declaration, what next? After the declaration, what next? The army is still in the Biafran land. The governors of Nigerian State are still there in their offices. All those elective and non-elective positions, all the appointees who are working for the Nigerian State. After the declaration, what next? It is a question that should not be thrown away with a mere wave of hands, because some of these people asking these questions, they don't know. Some of them, why they don't know, they really wish to know. Those others who don't wish us well to, they need to be put on the right track. I have been confronted with a lot of naysayers today. Some Igbo brothers, Igbo Biafrans whom I met today, okay, let's say one or two of them today. One thing they do tell you is everybody wants Biafra, everybody loves Biafra, but how possible is it? And one of them even said it is not possible. I said, wow. I told that one. Another one shared a headline from Sahara Reporter. Simon Ekpa won't be free to celebrate Christmas, neither will he be free to celebrate New Year. He laughed, because that is how much they know about freedom. So to them, self-determination is a bed of roses, or why to others, like who are in their view too, who are in the naysayers class, is not a possibility. Because one language most of them do use is, you cannot fight a government. Nigeria is too big. You cannot fight a government. You cannot fight. Who are you? Biafra has been declared. Before I make the in-depth analysis to show you what next, it will be good you watch the progress, the declaration of Biafran State, the United States of Biafra, and how the 40 states was unveiled, the paraphernalia, the where you have the coat of arms, the flag, and the rest of the basics. As you watch, prepare also to see a former American parliamentarian, I think he's still current, and also one-time ambassador to United States of America to Nigerian State, and how he has made his ground clear. He is also going to be working in the Donald Trump's incoming administration. that is his speech on the second day after the first day declaration. The original declaration took place on the 29th of November 2024, that's yesterday, as against the original date plan, which is an attempt to preempt all the disastrous moves of the Nigerian state and its supporters and the influencers to stop the Biafran agitation or movements or agenda. So they were taken unawares while they were looking for what to do on the 1st December ahead of the 2nd December. They were taken unawares. 29th November, yesterday. Now the declaration where the Biafran flag was hoisted as start of Nigeria was raised down. Of course, you should know that is Finland already outsmarted all those who thought they knew. They had to take the step that looks like they are cooperating with those of them from UK and in Nigeria and all their allies who think they were going to join in stopping Simon Ekpa, whereas they have actually aligned. Otherwise, no nation will allow you to host down his allies' flag within their borders and raise another flag. No nation does that. In case you don't know. So if you know, you know. And Simon Ekpa, for those of you who say Simon Ekpa is in detention or is in prison, no. We are sorry to disappoint you. Simon Ekpa is in his house in Finland. He is only having restrictions. Yes, because Finland need to give impression of playing along in as much as it doesn't disrupt the Biafran quest. Otherwise, Finland will not allow the activity to continue. But that is a fact. That is the fact. So, if you want to take rat poison or tapia, because Simon Ekpa is not rotting in jail as you had wished and prayed, it's a good time. If it is transformer, very well loaded with power load, electricity power load, you can do very good to go and have a very warm embrace. Hug the transformer very well, okay? It will help you to stop seeing the news about Simon Ekpa flourishing. Okay, see? So thank you as you join us to watch the development as it happened live and direct. The second day, from the first day, the major activities, and the second day. So please do go to watch. This is Akpan Asoko from Biafran Radical Freedom TV. We'll keep giving you the best. So it's going to take time. This video is going to take long. As you watch the developments, wait for the analysis. We are going to show you how it has happened, the countries that participated, that about what government in exile means in a very brief, the countries that have experienced this, what happened after their declaration, how long it possibly takes, and why Biafran own will be faster than all the other governments in exile that emerged. We'll show you those countries that you do see today. You know the countries today, you don't know how they came to be. Then you will also see what American delegates, lawyers who witnessed the Biafran declaration, and members of American governments what they have to say about Biafra. All of this, you're going to see them. So do go to wait. Thank you. Remain blessed. We go. Please don't forget to share this program as soon as you see it. Share it, like it, subscribe to this channel if you have not. That will do us good. Respect. Okay, like we did say from the introduction, a lot of people have a problem with Simon Ekpa's approach of seeking for freedom. You know why? Because to them it looks like a sharp contradiction from the approach of our supreme leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, His Excellency. The reason is that while Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the person that started this new quest, while he was busy reawakening people, you know, doing the groundbreaking work, awakening people's consciousness, they felt, even those who were condemning him, felt that the freedom quest is all about that. It starts and ends with awakening people consciousness and pointing to the dangers of continuous living together as one Nigerians. So they thought this is where it starts and ends. This is because some of them did not really believe in Nnamdi Kanu, and some are hiding now as Nnamdi Kanu is restricted, as he's not having his freedom again for now, as incarcerated by the Nigerian State under the DSS. So for those who hate who doesn't like the Biafra movement, especially those whose brothers, whose relatives have access to Nigerian government, who are in the positions of authority or who have contracts or one thing or the other, they are benefiting in one way or the other. So they bring in logics to present to gullible people to buy. So because of this, some of them don't really know what government in exile means. They have not even seen people who do it before. They don't believe in self-referendum. So while some others are helping to convince them because their family members are still benefiting, so it's benefiting them in turn. So it is good to clarify people like this on what government in exile really means. Those countries, they know that are popular countries today in the world, who have enjoyed, who have passed through this process to having their freedom. Yes, some of these countries include Poland, France, you know, France. Yes, France passed through this, and we have Czechoslovakia, you know, where you have Slovakia today. So Czechoslovakia passed through this. Greece passed through this process too. You also have Yugoslavia passing through this. Philippine, we call Filipino. Philippines passed through this. Many other countries, which I just mentioned, Greece already, Yugoslavia, Philippines, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, including Norway. So now you need to know, what is government in exile? A government in exile is simply a government that is temporarily established in foreign country after its own territory has been occupied by another authority who is exercising also pretending over the people's affairs, not on legitimacy, but through use of force. You get it? It is a government that is currently domiciled or hosted in another country, in a foreign land, operating because they are not yet totally in charge. There is a government, a foreign power, because it is a foreign government who is currently in charge of the activities within its territory. Okay, so they had to take a shield in another man's territory. A government in exile is a government that is temporarily established in a foreign country, because at the moment there is another authority that is currently exercising within its territory, within its borders. So they stay in that foreign land to organize themselves, then began to, fight through until they finally take over their territory. That is what government in exile is. And I just mentioned countries. While I mentioned Poland, and the next is France. You remember the great fall of France? This Poland. Remember Poland being under the Napoleon powers? Yes, these two countries used to be, they had similarities. That is France and Poland. They have cultural, they have flown, they were flowing, they have affiliate. And these two medieval European kingdoms, that the two of them, France and Poland, they belong together in that kingdom thing of the Western civilization. So I don't know how many of you that can remember that since this before 16th century, they have been in this kingdom, and they were doing great, and they have similarities because they are of the same Roman Catholic background. They believe in the Roman Catholics, and so now they believed that they should do better as friends. They align. And when the Napoleon was in charge, King Napoleon, France was their closest person to run to. Although France playing this kind of politics they play now, like Britain and this other American, they weren't very bold to come to their rescue, but they were taking some political steps, some kind of underground thing. But that wasn't enough. At the point, Poland wasn't comfortable. But at the end of the day, they had to cooperate. They became allies. France tried to confront the Nazi Germany at a point, which Germany had to come after them, and there was a fall of France. So already Poland fell too. So from the Renaissance era, France and Poland, their relationship seemed to be becoming more glaring for all to see. Meaning that within the 16th century, the two kingdoms, they made frantic efforts towards political alliances, and these alliances, didn't really work perfectly as they moved for it. But why the Poles kept pressing hard for this seeming alliance between them and France, where they expected Napoleon to come to their rescue, from their territory that was occupied. That wasn't coming as they expected it, because France playing this kind of hanky-panky politics like Britain, like America do too. France wasn't too open to rescue them. So within this period of 1830s to 1863, this French government now sympathize with these Polish rebels, but I am pointing to the fact that these supposed Polish rebels are greater. They were greater in number of them who were living in France. It was in France they were doing all these rallies. They were living in France. France accommodated them. So from there they were doing their best to see how they resurrect their kingdom. Yes, because I said this in the medieval era. So, but it wasn't achieved, we must say. It wasn't achieved then. So, until after the First World War, Second World War, after the First World War, when Poland was, resurrected, after the Second World War, and this period, within this entire war period, the both states became official allies, although France now had to take the side of Poland to fight in 1939 against the Nazi Germany. So, and Poland saw all the things, how France wasn't so determined to support them militarily. But eventually, around 1944, France itself fell to Nazi Germany. They say how what goes around comes around. But at the end, long story cut short, the Poles supported France. Yes, Poland that was seeking for France support now had to be strong. They became strong to support France. After seeing their chameleon kind of, after seeing their cold feet, or what they best term as betrayal, the French betrayal to Poland, but they had to support them. So this was the period France was also in exile. They had a government in exile where they received Polish support. Polish ones received French support, and when I tell you, France even stayed longer period. Yes, because France fell. They had this government in exile for almost 50 years. Yes, so it wasn't. So let's get it right. But let me correct something. It was Poland that stayed up to 50 years in government in exile. See, France fell in 1940. So in 1940, that same year, France fell. You remember, Poland was still within their region. So Poland, who was having their own government in exile in France, who also was trying to support France to stand too when they were also attacked. So they had to fly. They all fled to London. So as Poland fled to London and established their government in exile there, where they functioned for 50 years, France also ran to London as well. We have the Charles de Gaulle, the army general Charles de Gaulle, also ran to London, where they themselves to establish their government in exile. That's the irony of life. So there they organize themselves the same way. Even Biafran government in exile is far more organized than France and Poland in their own government in exile. So you should take to history lane, take to memory lane, then make your findings. For some of you, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be the same. Biafra will not stay more than 1 year plus to officially get recognized, because we are moving faster. We're on a speed lane. Recognition is here. So then I told you about another country too that had a government in exile. I mentioned this last in one of my programs recently. CZEC, you hear, Czechoslovakia. They were once together. Czechoslovakia, where you have CZEC and today Slovakia. They were also part of the people that fell. The government fell, like we became a defunct state. Like you have the defunct state of Biafra too. They fled. They ran to America. The same Nazi Germany. Germany was the strongest army. Yes, in the 1930s. In fact, even in 18th. Yes, in the 18th, mid-18th, Germany was the strongest army. German army. So they fled. Czechoslovakia fled to America, where they had their government in exile. They operated there for a very long time. So, but it's not as if it's only in America there. They also had their liaison offices in different other countries, also in London. And their office, their suppose headquarters was in Maryland. The same Maryland will have Biafran liaison office. And when you are allowed to have a liaison office in any country, you are not seen a terrorist organization. You are accepted as a legitimate self-determination movement, just like the Biafran government in exile liaison office have their liaison office in different countries of the world. So nobody sees them as a terrorist. So it's against what all of these haters and naysayers and the junk media are writing here at home. Oh, Simon is a terrorist in this one. He will not come out. He will spend this one and spend. Simon is in his house. Anyways, that's not my concern. It's for you to believe whatever you want to believe. But you remember someone said you will sleep in Nigeria and wake up in Biafra. So, like, we have our office in Maryland. The Czechoslovakia, there was a short name they were given then. They were given the Slovak. That was kind of a guy name that they were given then, Slovak. So the Slovak National Liberation Committee, like the Biafran government in exile, that is what the Slovaks had then. The one was the Slovakia National Liberation Committee. Okay. So they also had their own government in exile in France too. In 1939, before the fall of France fell in 1940, and in 1939, like we have Prime Minister, Biafran Republic government in exile, they also had a president, the Czechoslovakia Liberation okay, Slovakia National Liberation Committee. They had their president then, Edward Burns, in Paris, gave that name Slovakia. Yes, it was, the name came from Edward Burns. In Paris. So the same way you have Prime Minister, Biafran Republic government in exile in Finland, based. So this one based in Paris. Edward based in Paris. Simon, Edward Simon in Finland, based. In Finland, they accepted or agreed to call it Biafran government in exile. Why the Edward and his own committee called their own the Slovaki, and it had the slogan Slovak. So this is how it all works. So don't begin to say, oh, they never ever start. They don't even give themselves position. They never, and all that. You are not in the struggle. So are you expecting the position? There was a referendum. It was for you to say no, because the referendum was yes and no option. It's for you to vote against it if you don't want it. And that's why you hear in political science, if you refuse to take a decision, you refuse to part in decision taking process, you will have no option than to sit back for people to decide on your behalf. That's the truth. Oh, I don't want to vote. The vote doesn't count. It's okay. Vote doesn't count. No problem. Those who vote, their own will count for you. Yes, their own will count for you if you refuse to. So, like we were saying, why they had to, run to London and America, the Edward, this then president in exile, Edward Penny, why they had to move to London was because they tried to, make it domicile in France. But the thing, France did not wholeheartedly accept them in that year, that 1939. So the next year, while they were still, doing, this thing, don't come implicate also, because everybody was afraid of Germany. The same way many people don't want to openly come to interfere in Nigeria. Not that Nigeria will do anything, but it's a sovereign power, so let's not go and enter. That was what France was doing. So France was still doing that. France even fell to Germany also. So 1940 they also moved to America and London, where they now had their liaison office. So the president then, I think, wasn't the one that continued the movement. I didn't know if what happened to him along the way. So the way Nnamdi Kanu is not the person now in charge of the Biafran Republic government in exile. So Edward wasn't the one that formed the government in America and in London and other places. They had liaison offices. So after the Nazi Germany was done with the occupation with Poland, France, and then Czechoslovakia, 1939, 1940 respectively. 1940, I say 1940. Yes, then in that same 1940, around October 28th, they advanced towards Greece. They occupied Greece. So King George II, that is the Athens monarch, the king, evacuated his people, moved them towards Africa, to Egypt, where they formed their government in exile, what they called Cairo government. Cairo government. So as they moved to Egypt, it was there that the monarch, King George, now began to form their government. So, this was after the First World War. They formed that government. Before the end of the Second World War. Before the end of the Second World War. Of course, this is all about the Second World War. I think, yes, they came back on the intervention of Britain. Britain interfered, helped them, accepted their government in exile. Then they gained recognition afterwards. So within a period of 5 years, they gained recognition. Why the Poland had to stay almost 50 years to gain recognition. France stayed lesser years. Czechoslovakia stayed how many years? I can't remember. I can't remember exactly, because after they also formed the alliance with the Moscow, with what do you call it, USSR, too, where they later, after the Second World War, had a stronger government in exile, the communist government in exile of the Slovakia. So I can't remember how many years they say, but it was still late. It was still, because when they further also partitioned, they also splitted between the two. They created a new country, was born out of it. Did they even finally emerge until they divided? If they finally emerged until they divided, it wasn't a long time. Then the Czech and Slovakia had to part. So this is what happened in the from the 1990s, within 1990s. Yes, within 1990s. It's a very recent development. Yes, so they stayed within a period of time because of they weren't very. You are going to know about this thing when you hear from the American lawmaker who was one time American ambassador to Nigerian government. So you are going to hear from him. I mean Michael Robin. So you're going to listen to his speech, but let me keep on. I think I have some other countries to show you who passed through the government in exile to emerge. So now there's something you need to know. Yugoslavia is the next in line. They had to run. The persons that was that carried the coup, the government that was constituted, that had to fled their homeland to form and reorganize themselves. They found themselves in different countries, but while we are hearing in Jerusalem, before they even arrived in Jerusalem, some of them stopped at Athens, some advanced, where you have the King Peter's too. They advanced, some went to London, some advanced to Australia, some to America, some to also some African countries like South Africa. Like we have the Biafran Republic government in exile, scattered in different, having governments in Germany, in America, in Finland, in different countries of the world, including South Korea. So the thing is, Like Mazen Kanu once said, if during that Nigerian Biafran conflict they had continued, when Ojukwu fled, the King Peter too was still recognized in Jerusalem as king. Yes, he was still recognized. Some of his cabinet members too were recognized. So King Peter was still called king in Athens when they branched Athens. Was still recognized as king in Jerusalem, where they were welcomed, they settled like Biafrans are welcomed in Finland. So the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile will now be recognized as the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic in exile now. So what Mazen Kanu, the only thing he blamed Ojukwu's cabinet is when Chief Dean Ojukwu fled, let our father of blessed memory, he wasn't supposed to fly out alone. He was supposed to go move alongside with other people. They were supposed to constitute a government in exile. Had they persisted, like I was arguing with somebody, I was, reasoning with somebody, he said if they had continued, maybe everybody would have finished. So who would be in the Biafra? I said no, they would have. What Mazen Kanu meant is that they were supposed to continue the government in exile. So if they had done that, this thing wouldn't have started till over up to 20 years. Because Nigeria, the Fulani doesn't say the truth. Oh, 3R program, where none of it was kept to. You understand where we are going now. And also you must note something very importantly. Remember that this Yugoslavia we are talking about is where we have Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have Bosnia and Herzegovina, where you have Serbia, you have some countries like Croatia. These people, where a lady was the leader that took them to World Cup and they won. You remember Croatia, I think 2017 World Cup, 2018 World Cup. So Croatia is on there, Macedonia is on there, Montenegro is on there, Slovenia is from there. So I already mentioned the Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is the same Yugoslavia that all these other countries were born out of, and none of them, in fact all of them put together are not up to Lagos State population. Yes, all these 6 to 7 countries that carved out from Yugoslavia, in fact the whole of Yugoslavia is not up to Lagos population. Yugoslavia put together, we were not up to Lagos population. So when they tell you anything based on population, no, it doesn't go that way. People look for what works for them. I hope you are understanding it, so that we don't confuse you trying to prove any point. I hope we are flowing together. So even the Herzegovina and Bosnia, none of them is even a very popular country. So you see that whether the Odua nation, the Biafra, we are very big, we are so endowed, all of us. We are all endowed. It's about having a government that is functional, useful. We must continue. Why the Second World War was ongoing, because I'm going over to the Philippine government in exile. So why the Second World War was ongoing, let's be very precise. Let's say May 1942 all through to October 1944, Japanese eroded, they occupied the Philippine land. So it wasn't an easy period for the people of Philippines. So their then president, Manuel Luis Quizon, fled with his cabinet members, with just a few men, a number of people. He gathered them, they now fled to America. Yes. So they became a kind of they formed the government in exile. So they represented, they were keeping, should I say, they became a kind of symbol of the Filipino past and also the hope for the Filipino future. This government in exile, because Japan occupied the territory, so they don't know when it's going to end. But they needed to stay resilient. They needed to stay focused. They didn't want to accept that all hope is gone. So this collection of men and ebullient women gathered themselves to constitute a government in exile. When somebody was asking, how many people are this government now? The Biafran Republic government in exile is very well encompassing, and graciously, this is not a gathering of agros or junkies. These are basically professors and academic doctors, medical doctors as well, professors and doctors, master's degree holders. These are people who are so rooted in America, in Japan, from Canada, from France, from Italy, from Germany. Some, technocrats, people of substance, men of timbers and calibers. So they constitute this government in exile. Why do you think it will fail? For some of you who are gossiping that Simon is arrested and this one is in prison, even in Africa, even in a zoo, nobody will be in prison without facing trial. Simon is in his house. He is under investigation, yes, but he's in his house. And the Finnish government is taking care of his bills, if you don't know. And this is under a very good man arrangement, so that it doesn't appear they are not yielding to call from UK and Nigeria. So that's why they are doing what they are doing. The same UK that is supporting, that's one thing you see, the same UK that came to the aid of the Slovakia, the Greece, and all these other places. But they want to quench the fire of Biafran self-determination. So you don't know what they are benefiting. Because what is here, maybe all these other places put together don't have it. That's why they had to support those ones, but they want to, not even that they are not supporting you, they want to discourage anybody who wants to support you. Because they want to maintain their holdings in the establishments. Okay, like we were saying, so this handful of men, led by an early nationalist, the Commonwealth President Manuel Luis Quizon, they kept driving the movement forward. And America was the ground to give the Filipinos hope. So you understand it now? You understand it now? Government in exile is not an aberration. It's not an utopia. It is reality, and it conforms to international practice. That is why we are accepted in all the countries where we have our liaison office and still progressing. You understand with us? You need to. Okay? So you need to see that hypocrisy, what Britain stands for. Even Belgium, 1940, the same 1940 fell to Nazi Germany. And as they also went to France, France was already falling. They also had to fly to UK too, where they now started negotiating. So after declaration, what next is negotiation. They started, pressing. So they established itself to have the legitimate or the structure to liaise with those people they see as their allies or prospective allies. That is the government in exile now. So that's what they did. Belgium. It doesn't stop. It did not stop with the same Germany. Okay. So the same Nazi Germany continued. They attacked the Dutch, that's the Netherlands. During that same Second World War, they attacked, invaded the Dutch land, Netherlands, and the Dutch people fled to London, where they formed the government in exile. They sent their queen, that is Queen Wilhelmina. Queen Wilhelmina formed the government in exile with the people there. They had a cabinet in London. So all this thing happened in London. But the same London don't want us because of what they stand to gain. They don't want us to form our own. They don't want us to declare. So we are showing you so that when you argue, you should have your facts. Yes. But you don't have your facts, you shut up. Okay, let us continue. This is the much I can take from the Dutch government in exile. What about Luxembourg? The same Nazi Germany attacked Luxembourg within that same 1940 to 1944, before the end of the Second World War. The Nazi Germany took over their territory. They formed the government in London. So most of them all in London. So they formed their government, and the government was functional, pressing for them the fleeing, or the king that fled, that is the King Pierre Dupont, had to form the government there, and it worked for them. So why won't it work for Biafrans? What is so special about Biafra that nothing good that works for others can work for us? Alright, let's continue. I'm already feeling so sleepy, so I think I need to stop. So the same period 1940, the same Nazi Germany overrun Norwegians. So the Norway fell in the sword of the Nazi Germany. Norway fell. The king King Hakon VII had to reflect and form their government in exile. The same Norway today that is holding Dr. Yabacho. Yes, Dr. Yabacho is held today by the same Norway that had a government in exile. Although it's unfortunate that Yabacho, who is a friend to Biafrans, did not know he should form a government in exile. He was just a leader, like Onyendu. So being just a leader is not something that can easily work in this era, where you need to press harder so that you'll be sure you have a democratic cover-up. Not have to legitimacy to function. So having a government in exile is not something that is new. It's something that dates back to the 18th, 19th. As you can see, I've given through. I'm feeling sleepy. I'm feeling sleepy, and my eyes are already closing. So please, we'll need to take a break and listen to some of our guests, what they have to say, and as they compared us to other current freedom-seeking movements, and how the Biafran Republic government in exile has been distinguished as having fulfilled all the demands of international organization UN to have us a free people. And so we have been ticked good also. Thank you. We have to join this our guests. Thank you. All right, fellow Biafrans, this is Michael Robbins. You just saw a former U.S. government official, one member of the parliament, and one-time United States of America's ambassador to Nigerian government. He just took his time to rubbish the Finnish authority. And in this particular program, where he is addressing Biafrans, you are seeing him mention a lot of things, what Nigerian State stands for. In the previous videos of his, he mentioned how Nigeria has been involved in a lot of atrocities against the Biafran people because he was an ambassador. So this little note, you can see him in this today's program. He said he can't be bribed. All his advocacy for Biafran people is born out of sincere heart and intention to have us a free people. So these are all he has written. All he said last week, part of what he said last week. But on this convention, you just listen to the one he said. So as Biafra has been declared, what is the next? The next is meetings upon meetings, negotiations upon negotiations with government actors, state actors, governments of the world, organizations like EU, and that's all these organizations. So thank you as you watch. Make sure you help us share this program to almost as much as you can, but most of your friends. Share and encourage them to subscribe and like our channel. Thank you. Remain blessed. When
I analyze, it's important to recognize the obvious. It's willful blindness to embrace some of the excuses which the West uses to avoid discussing the autonomy, the freedom, the liberty, and the independence of Biafra. It is not climate change, but deliberate murder. Climate change doesn't hire Fulani gangs to rape and murder in Biafra. The authorities in Abuja do. And we need to recognize that reality. Too often, the State Department, the European Union, the African Union defer to the powerful against the weak. But that's not how human rights work. When it comes to the abuses of the Nigerian government, they must be held to account. When Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met with Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of Nigeria and a war criminal from the days of the first Biafra genocide, he took Nigeria off the State Department's religious freedom watch list. The United States and all other countries must calibrate our policies towards the reality of the way things are, rather than the way we wish things would be. The fact of the matter is, on any watch list for religious freedom, Nigeria should be on its blacklist.
Yes.
It should be its worst tier.
Yes.
Because reality cannot be ignored.
Of course.
Nor should human rights of all those in Biafra be swept under the bus.
Never.
Frankly, if Nigeria spent as much energy hunting the perpetrators of violence against the Igbo as they do pressuring Finland to punish the free speech of Biafra's leaders, Nigeria would be a much better place. Unfortunately, rather than reform, rather than embrace liberty, rather than embrace self-determination, Nigeria seems to embrace transnational repression. And that is why all Biafra activists in Finland should be free.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people will look at Biafra and say, you know, we've never heard of Biafra. That reflects their ignorance and their ignorance of history, rather than the necessary reality. But then you will have some naysayers who will say, why are you declaring independence, re-declaring independence in Finland, rather than in Biafra itself? And again, that reflects an ignorance of history for those who might criticize. After all, Czechoslovakia declared its independence in Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
right near where I sit now. And no one suggested that the Czechs and the Slovaks didn't deserve their freedom. The fact of the matter is, when one faces a lethal threat and lethal repression, you need to assert your freedom wherever you may be. But that doesn't forfeit your rights to your homeland. So, when it comes to Biafra, what I see is everything being done right. I have gone, again, I say this as an academic. I've been to many places around the world in which people desire their freedom. I've been to Iraqi Kurdistan, Turkish Kurdistan, and Syrian Kurdistan. And I've written a book where, while I empathize with the Kurds, they are not yet ready for independence because they have not taken the basic steps to form a unitary government that can step into the vacuum on day one and lead their people. That is something that the Biafrans have a mistake the Biafrans have not made. What I see today with the organization of the Biafrans has been absolutely and completely admirable.
Yes.
You are not simply symbolically declaring independence. You are setting in motion a government which can take over all functions of the government.
Yes.
Now, some people may complain that Biafra now has its own army, and they may say that is a terrorist action. They are wrong. It is the job of any government to monopolize the use of force within its territory. The Nigerian army is the occupying army right now. Its job is not to monopolize the use of force within Biafra, because they have shown when they use force, they use it not for security, but to perpetrate insecurity. They use it to murder, they use it to rape, they use it to charter busing, to bring in militias, so that naive people may believe that they have nothing to do with what is going on in the region. Now, I'm a historian by training, which means I get paid to predict the past. Also, speaking of pay, let me be clear. I am receiving nothing for my advocacy for Biafra. I have been offered nothing, I have demanded nothing, and I am receiving nothing. Nor would it even be legal for me to accept money from anyone. I am speaking only as an analyst and only as someone who wants to further liberty. Now, I ask as a historian, where has it worked to force the victims of genocide together with their perpetrators? Where in history has that ever worked?
Nowhere.
Aggressors must understand that if they turn to genocide, they will always lose. The fact of the matter is, Nigeria lost Biafra in 1967. They may have won the war temporarily, but they permanently lost Biafra. The decisions they made 57 years ago forfeited any rights they have to control, to occupy, to speak on behalf of the people of Biafra. Let me conclude by saying, as an analyst again, I don't think the United States will be the first country to recognize Biafra. But I pray that it won't be the third country either. Biafra to move from Finland and to lobby vociferously night and day in order to ensure that the African Union recognizes that Biafra is already more organized, already more capable of statehood, already will have a higher standard of living, already will be at peace with itself and its neighbors more than many other African countries. And therefore, it will be a boon to Africa, a boon to the African Union, a boon to the spread of democracy in the region, an anchor for stability in the region, in an area that is increasingly unstable, especially as people come from the north in order to destabilize. So let me conclude by saying I wish I could be with you there today. Family prevented me from coming, but I admire what you're doing, I follow what you're doing, and I pray for what you're doing.
So,
long live Biafra.
Long live Biafra.
You know, Amazonia declared her independence sometime in 1999 when Justice Elubede Ebong, Chief Ayamba, and a host of others seized Radio Boya and declared the independence of Amazonia. But we had one mistake. And that mistake is something that my president, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, told His Excellency Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, because you know that long before now, Mazin Nnamdi Kanu wanted to declare independence. He told him, my brother, don't make the mistake we made in 1999. Independence must be defended. Don't declare independence if you don't have an army to back you. Don't have a You only can create a government when you have an army that will be protecting the people who are coming out to honor the activities that the government is putting in place. If you put a government without the defense first, you are taking the second step before the first. And today we are here. The Biafran government in exile, I cannot say that I am proud of you. I am flying with you. The ocean might look very soft on the surface. The ocean looks very timid on the surface, that any Tom and Dick can play with it. But beneath the ocean is dreaded. Beneath the ocean is horror. The zoo thought that we were just that surface of the ocean. We are dragging them down to see what we really have. Only a man who is smoking something I don't want to smoke will not differentiate the difference between a river and an ocean. Amazonia, sorry I use Amazonia too much because it's something I've been talking about. Biafra is an ocean, same like Amazonia. The Biafran people are too rich, not only economically, but too rich mentally, that they should not be enslaved by people lesser than them. The Biafrans should not be slaves to cattle railers. It should not happen. That is the reason we are here today. I'm sorry I told you I don't know how to talk very much. I just concerning the Biafra Amazonia relations, I can bet you and I can tell you we are in a very good foot. Because we are inseparable. Nothing can separate us. We go together like dynamite. Papa. We want to make sure that as Biafra declared yesterday, if they commission their men and are looking at their 12:15, Amazonia should be there covering their back at their 12:45. That is why I stand here as an honorable member of the defense unit that we have with the Biafrans, and I want to salute the chairman of the Biafran defense government in exile, because he's the chairman of that our group and he's doing a marvelous job. And I cannot go without giving his salute. We will make sure that as you have declared yesterday, that the movement of people from both regions will be as free as anything called free can be. Because I bet you the human psychology is very funny, that Amazonia is under attack today and they are running to Biafra for safety. As you declared yesterday, don't be surprised that Biafrans will be running again to Amazonia for safety. There will be that crisscrossing. And what we cannot afford to do is to create a vacuum on that border stretch. Because when you create a vacuum, enemies take it over. Rooks take it over. Thieves take it over, and you'll be hearing kidnapping and all of those things. Your minister and myself were working very hard to make sure that there is a strong border patrol in that area. Still on defense, I will divert a little bit to tell you that what is happening here today in Finland and what happened also in
it is a life of love. Yes. It is a life of togetherness. Yes. It is a life of prosperity. Yes. It is a life of happiness. Yes. A life of Biafrans going home. I believe this is a life of an independent Biafran nation. Yes. The Republic of Biafra. The nation of territory. Great Biafrans, we are very much encouraged. We want to thank Eritrean President Mahathir for his noble words. Biafra, indeed, we are alive. Amen. Under the Biafran government in exile. And we are going to get this done. Together in a joint force, we are going to focus on who are the problems. And we are going to know that there is nothing more fulfilling than freedom for our people. So without taking much, I would like us to give another hand of applause to the President.
From Amazonia, he made my job easy. He made my job easy, so I'm going to do less talking. But I will go straight to the point. If you are not supporting and you believe in Biafra and you only shout Biafra, Biafra, and you are pretending, you are stubborn. You are evil. And if you have the money, you are not supporting. You are evil. You are stubborn. But if you don't have the money, our God will provide for you. So you can support the men on ground. If we don't defend our motherland, what do we have? If we don't defend our motherland, the enemy, they will overrun us. It's not all about declaring Biafra. We have to defend it. We have to protect it. We have to hold it dear. Do you know why? We work hard for this. Do you know why? We come a long way. Do we want what happened in 1967 to 1970 to repeat itself again. Now we're talking. So if you believe and you don't want that to repeat itself, what do?
Finance. Support.
You support with money. When you do the talking, or when you do the walking, or you do the talking, you do the walking. You can't be talking, and you don't do it.
Before, Southern Sudan fought a war for 30 years. 30. Our own was only 3 years. Only our labor. 3 years only. Everybody ran away. Only 3 years. We don't want to build men that at the slightest sight of difficulty, they run away. We want to weed out all the chaffs. We need those that can sustain. Those who are relentless in the pursuit of our freedom until our freedom comes. No retreat and no surrender. How do you get them?
Our march is very, very near. The enemies are trembling, they are quaking, they are doing all they can to try to stop us. But they have failed very woefully, and they will continue to fail. But I want